So tonight on Diabetes Chat, we are joined by all the girls from, not all the girls from Menopausal Mithers, some of the girls from Menopausal Mithers. And I've said girls because I've said girls and maybe we should say women, or I'm not being PC, but Menopausal Mithers came about last year. October is the Menopause Awareness Month, and Beth started the group on World Diabetes Day in November, after there was such a large amount of chitter all over about menopause in general. So yeah, tonight we're lucky to have a few of those that are in the group tonight with us. We've got Alex and Shiv. Gillian may join later along with Anita and possibly Dawnie. Dawnie's doing a 14-hour shift, I think, today. So I'm not sure what time she'll get finished at tonight. Like, and if all goes well, it'll go well. And if it doesn't, well, we have hopefully a little video that was done yesterday with Kes and Tom. So we also welcome anybody else in the chat too who wants to join the discussion, and just request for the microphone and we'll bring you up, because this is a chat, a panel chat. So I'll pass over to Kes now, who's going to move on to the first section with Alex and Sammy. And I should maybe do a wee should I ask the girls to do a wee introduction, Kes, like of themselves, or you can do that?
No, that sounds
I'll
good.
I'll pass over to you. Yeah.
Oh, Mary.
I'm rubbish.
It's all good. It's all good. So just before we go on to the 90-second questions, then who wants to come and tell us a bit about themselves first, out of you ladies who are joining us this evening?
Go on then. Start with A. So, beginning of the alphabet.
There we go.
So, hi everyone. This is Alex. Alex Paget 1 on Twitter. I'm type 1 diabetes. I've been diagnosed in 1999. I'm on a Medtronic pump, 270G, and I'm looping with the Guardian G4. I've been looping for 11 months. Yes, going to come to a year really soon. Been really good. Apart from having a pump failure while being abroad on holiday, but those things do happen. Yeah, so that's me in a nutshell. Over to you, Shiv.
Have we got Shiv? I think you've been nominated.
Maybe if Shiv is having difficulty, maybe Sammy there.
I was just going to say, do you want I'm not good at this stuff.
Oh, hold on.
Can you hear?
Yes, we can. Are you okay to hold on then, Sammy?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
That's fine.
Yeah, well, we can hear you loud and clear. Keep talking, Shiv. Can you hear us? We can hear you, Shiv. Yep.
You can hear me, can you?
Totally. You're very clear. You're brilliant.
All right. Okay. I just think there's a time delay, Mary. But anyway.
Oh, maybe.
Right. I'm Shiv Siobhan, diagnosed 1975.
How long have you been using an insulin pump?
So I've lived with diabetes 48 years, and I'm looping now at the moment after going from urine testing. Mary, I'm going to have to sign off. There's a big time delay.
Can If you keep talking, we can hear you. We can hear you fine. Maybe sign out and then come back in again, then Shiv, and see if that makes a difference. And then we'll chat to Sammy.
Okay, I'll keep talking just a couple of minutes. I don't know why the time delay is. But anyway, I've done some urine testing to... Okay.
I think there is quite a time delay.
Mm.
So maybe if we go to Sammy and then hopefully Shiv will come back in a bit.
Yeah, you want me to take over?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, okay, right. Well, I'm Sammy, and like Shiv, I've had it for 48 years as well. Or I should say, it's had me for 48 years because it has to live with me, unfortunately. I am still MDI, can't get a pump because apparently I'm too well controlled. But there we go. So, yeah, that's basically me.
Okay. Have we missed anyone out? Have we got anyone else? Is that everyone?
So far at the minute, anyway. Unless there's anybody else wants to join that wants to contribute to the chat too. I see Linda in the chat. Maybe would you be interested to join the chat, Linda? No. I just know Linda's. Oh, there she is.
Okay.
Here comes Linda.
Good.
And then Shiv's back in.
Brilliant. Got some wacky things going on with the space today, but I'm getting a delay now. But we'll carry on. We'll persevere.
I was just about to say, I think there's something going on background in Twitter. He's probably unplugged something again because he likes to pull plugs out because that's how life works for him, because you just pull something out and hope for the best. I do see Linda's come up, so whilst we're waiting on Shiv and things like that coming back, if Linda, if there is anything you want to discuss, because we know that you are, we'll call us seasoned because Sammy is have had it in the 30 plus years, so we're now seasoned, and we don't live with it lives with us, and we tell it what it's going to do. So please do come up and feel free to let us know your experiences or share anything you want to share with us about the subject as well.
Yeah, hi, it's Linda here. I'm about to hit 50 years with type 1. And I am now using a tandem T-Slim pump with Dexcom G6. And suffering from a lot of menopausal symptoms as well, but find that quite challenging, dealing with GPs who know very little and very little conversation with anyone in the hospitals over the years, really. So, yeah, I've got a few thoughts on the menopause and diabetes, which I'm happy to share.
That would be great, Linda, if you want to join in with Mary next section. I think that would be really interesting because it's a bit of like a panel discussion.
Yeah.
So feel free to chip in.
Okay.
Okay, so what we'll do now is move on to the 90-second questions. So anyone who's able to speak, feel free to answer some of the questions you've already answered. We won't go through names again. But if we start with what have you used and what do you use to monitor your blood glucose levels currently?
I used to use strips. Then I've used Libra 1 and then Libra 2. And now I'm looping with the
I'm
CGM
with
Garden
G6.
4.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Well, I started out like a lot of the old timers hit on here, dropping the tablet into wee and praying it didn't go yellow because that meant a phone call to the hospital. But I then moved on to finger pricks, going through the old guillotine machine, which looked like a torture device. Then onto the more normal finger pricks, and now I've had the Libra 1 originally. I was lucky to get that early when it came out, and now on the Libra 2.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, so anyone can answer. Are you currently using insulin pens or pumps, and what do you prefer and why?
Well, at the moment, I'm using the insulin pens, the new Novo Echo, which are better because they can transport all the information without me having to sit and tap it in every 2 seconds, which I've got to be honest, I gave up on after a week anyway. Would love a pump because for me, I think after 48 years of sticking needles in myself, I deserve one. Plain and simple. I realise they're not quite as easy as my lovely little head is imagining, but even so, I'd quite like the chance to try one.
And they've said to you, Sammy, that your control is too good.
Yes, because my HbA1c last time was 6.9. It's too good, and therefore immediately discussion was ended.
So, sorry for interrupting here, Mary. This actually upsets me when I hear people say this because they do not look at the whole impact. So your control's perfect according to them, but they're not seeing what you're sacrificing to get that. And a close down that conversation is unacceptable. And I just see when you say it's too tight a control, you're not the first person I've heard say this. Pumps were not designed for people that never had control. They were designed to make our lives easier, which is, in hindsight, then means that even if you've got tight control, the only thing it's going to do for you is fundamentally improve it. So I just hope that they start mastering this and understand it and offer services like this out, specifically technology when people want it. Because I know how it must feel. I'm 35 years diabetic, and it took me 20 years of fighting with my health board to get it because I was completely opposite to you in terms of I was too badly controlled for a pump, because when they first came out it was apparently for well-controlled diabetics, and I'm like, well, what makes them different to me? So it's just amazing how it swings and roundabouts. But I'll let Mary get back to you. I just wanted to say I stand with you in that and hope that that changes for you soon.
I was just going to say, like, just for 1 second, like, was to say that, like, you can describe the burden you have, and I'm sure you have, Sammy, like, but you can also move hospitals.
Yes, that's true. I have got an appointment coming up relatively soon, hoping I get the main man, because he loves talks with me.
Yeah,
he normally puts his students in front of me because he finds it amusing. For those who don't know me, I do not hold back.
I am sure you don't.
But I have been doing my research and I have got plenty of bullets ready to load.
Good.
Sounds really good. And a little something from me. So I actually had a HbA1c of 49 when I got the pump, and it took me a long time to argue with them about it. But yeah, I was with you with that. It's awful.
It's awful, isn't it?
It is awful. Because like we've said, it's the what you're doing to achieve that is not seen.
No, exactly.
Okay.
The reason I got my pump was due to insulin sensitivity, actually. I don't know if anyone else has got one because of that. It meant that my doses were massively decreased, so I am really 6 times more sensitive to it.
Wow.
But that's another reason people can argue to get a pump if they're...
Well, I'm actually hoping to use the menopause to argue for my case.
Absolutely, because menopause triggered that insulin sensitivity in me, and I think it does for a lot of other women as well.
Yeah.
And they're noticing that at the moment. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys. So moving on to the next question. Are you hypo aware, and what symptoms do you get?
Well, I've not been hypo aware for years. In fact, I even on a run, luckily I was with my son, I went as low as 1.9 and I was not aware. I was carrying on completely oblivious, and it was only because he said, "Mum, do you just want to check your sugars?" And I did, and I realised how low they were. But I would have, had I been on my own, which I am sort of 99% of the time on a run, I would have carried on until I collapsed. But I think it is something that is more common with long-term diabetics. I don't know whether we just get used to it and the brain has that kind of blanks it out almost. I don't know.
I would be aware like under 3.5, but nothing like around 4 I wouldn't feel it. But yes, I would have good awareness. 3.5. I talk too much, tingly lips, confusion, etc. Hope you can hear me.
Yeah, absolutely. Loud, like really clear actually as well.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, I
used
lost
to be quite-
hypo.
Sorry, go on.
I lost hypo awareness because I was using a Medtronic pump with their Guardian 3 sensor, and I could not pair it up with the pump. It never worked. And I got to the stage where it was giving me bad readings constantly, maybe 4 millimoles out. And so it was telling me I was going hypo when I was at 6 or 7. So in the end, I had to, I couldn't tell if it was happening. So obviously lost my driving license, and then I thought, no, I'm going to stop using it completely.
Yeah.
And got it back just by concentrating on the feelings I get when I'm hypo and really listening to my body. So, that got it back for me, and it's brilliant now after 50 years. So, yeah, I can feel it at 4 dropping. I can feel the drops really well, and I can act quickly enough because of the CGM. That's helped massively to stop as many, because some days I was having 7 and the hospital were not interested in helping me reduce that number. And obviously, I think it's damaged my brain over the years as well, all those lows. I've had some really bad ones.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So the next question is actually, what do you guys think feels worse, being hyper or hypo?
I think it's 50-50. Both are bad.
Yeah, I must admit with a high blood sugars, you have all the horrible side effects that come with that, being sluggish, tired, etc. But at the same time, when you have the hypo hangover, you feel exactly the same then. So yeah, I would agree with that actually.
Yeah.
I think they're as bad as each other in slightly different ways.
Yeah.
I find hyper more difficult to deal with because you don't drop very quickly.
No.
Despite trying lots of things.
Yeah.
So for me, they're more what I worry about. Somehow, hypo, I still have some awareness, again, around 3.5 like Shiv. But I just know as long as I've got glucose, I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
but when you go hyper and you've passed the threshold of 24, you just know that it's going to be a very long day to go back down. So if you're even higher, and then that's when you start to be a bit inventive.
Yeah.
And then you're afraid of going completely the wrong way in plummeting and then not catching that hypo in time and then finishing in hospital. That's really scary for me. Yeah.
Definitely. Absolutely. And did you want to join us in the chat? Ooh. Or did we lose Anne? Is she gone now? Sorry, I've got a bit of a delay. So
I think Anne has gone. I don't see Anne there.
Okay, no worries. Okay, so my last question is going to be: do you love or hate the smell of insulin?
Well, I can remember when insulin was pork derived.
Me too.
Yeah, and it used to smell of pork chops.
Oh,
but raw.
Did it really? Did it
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, but not the raw pork chops. But I'm indifferent to it now. I think I've become immune to it. I don't really notice it. Other people do.
yeah.
You know, you sort of prime in the needle and go, "Oh God, do you have to near me?" But I don't notice it.
I'd be the same. I don't notice it either.
Sorry for interrupting here, but Mary, I cannot believe you did not know that insulin used to smell like pork chops. Even I can remember that.
But you maybe have type 1 longer than I have. I was only diagnosed in 97, you know.
Oh, you're a young'un.
I'm
I
only a
definitely
baby.
don't remember that. I was 2019, so
I will tell you, the smell has come on leaps and bounds. I will tell you that.
Massively.
The smell has come on leaps and bounds.
Massively.
That's really funny. Okay, so I think what we'll do next is we'll hand over Mary, who's going to get us going with our discussion about the menopause.
Okay, cheers, Kes. Thank you. Right, so Dawnie did a chat with Tom and Kes yesterday on YouTube. Tom, are you going to try and play that for everybody to listen to?
I didn't know if you wanted to continue discussion because we've got a good
We've got loads.
So
yeah.
why don't you ask the panel that first question, and then because then people can go back and listen back and watch Dawnie's episode.
Yeah.
I think while we've got the amazing audience tonight, I think let's continue going, guys. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. So these questions are very similar to what Dawnie answered anyway on YouTube, if anybody wants to catch that up and hear her perspective on it too. But so menopause. There are 3 stages of menopause. And does anybody who wants to maybe talk about what they are? Maybe should I pick somebody? Maybe Sammy? Would you do that?
Yeah, I can do that.
Like you're the queen of the group in Facebook.
You mean I'm the gobby one?
I didn't say that.
It's a self-proclaimed title. Don't worry.
You rock on with that one, because that'll ground us. And for anybody who's maybe unsure, or because this is a topic like that people don't talk about, and like there's a statistic like that more than half of women don't want to talk about it, and more than 3/4 of men don't want to talk about it. So if you don't talk about it, you don't know about it.
You know what?
Exactly.
Absolutely, and I'm just going to throw my mum under the bus now because I tried to have this conversation with her yesterday, and she would not talk to me.
I think it's that old thing, isn't it? I think years ago, it was something women were ashamed of. For some reason, I don't really know why, but I think women were ashamed of it because, well, I guess maybe because they reached a stage in life where they couldn't have children anymore, so they were no use to anybody.
Yeah.
You know, and there was a big misunderstanding about it. I mean, I'm obviously going back to the days when women stayed in the kitchen, raised children, and thought about kittens and nothing much else. So I think it was that big shameful kind of stage in life, and they didn't like talking about it. And I think that's kind of progressed and still lingers now. Sorry, my son's just come home, so the 2 hours on guard desk duty.
So like there's a point. I'm going to put my hand up and say there's a point in my life where I was oblivious to menopause, and then all of a sudden it started to become something that wasn't a million miles away, and then I've started to get symptoms of perimenopause myself. And like, where do you see people having these symptoms, like with perimenopause? It can happen really quite early.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, please understand I'm no expert in this at all. But the perimenopause, I believe, can start at any point in your 40s. And it's a stage where you may start to get the earlier symptoms like hot flushes, night sweats, the traditional, but I think it's more common to actually get the unusual symptoms that women don't normally associate with the menopause. You know, you're still having your periods, but they may become more erratic, they may become lighter, heavier. And also for a lot of diabetics, in fact, the vast majority in the Facebook group, it's their blood sugars is often the very first symptom they get. And the blood sugars suddenly start becoming so erratic over a 24-hour period. All the tips and techniques they've been taught, none of them work. They're rage bolusing left, right, and centre, and it just doesn't work.
So I see Siva has her hand up. Do you want to say something, Siva, on that?
Hi there. Sure. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Did I say your name correctly?
Yeah, it's Siva.
Siva. Lovely.
Yeah, you pronounced correctly. I'm just noticing a trend where when I was young, I always thought menopause was something that, in quote unquote, like older people got it. And, there's no age, but, just older people. Like I remember my grandmother having it, when I was a child, in our family. I went through a period where I even had great grandmothers. But anyway, it's just now we are seeing more dialogues that are open, especially now due to, we are connected in, internet, social media, and it's more of a subject that we talk about. And also we're learning that a perimenopause or menopause is no longer a taboo, or at least that people as early as 40s could, have it. Like when I was having my symptom, when I went to my doctor, she actually said, I'm very late because I'm in my mid 50s. And she said, oh, you're lucky you didn't have it in your 40s. And then to find out that you could have this for 10 years, there's that, oh God, you got to be kidding me. So it's a lot of young people are having it. And now, you're hearing more people talk about it. It's no longer a taboo. Now we are seeing it all over, and that we're ready to kind of like tackle this and to have more support ever before, I think.
Yeah. And see, like you said there with perimenopause, you can have symptoms for 10 years or so. Like with sensor technology, and this is where I'm going to ask maybe those in the panel too, like when you didn't have sensor technology, we didn't get to see those blood sugar changes as clearly, but could you still see them with finger pricking somehow? Like, did things change? Do you remember, or
well, for me, Mary, I was finger pricking when
I know I was kind of directing that at you actually, Shiv, because I knew you didn't have a sensor then.
Yeah, and like, I don't know if it's changed. My biggest problem was nighttime sweats.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if it was a hypo or a hot flush. I didn't know you'd wake up and, you'd feel it. You'd finger prick. But I would have still done the same when I got a CGM, because even though my CGM was maybe reading 5 or 6, it could have been inaccurate. So it didn't change how I felt. Like, I was sleep deprived for the guts of 10 years. Between perimenopause, postmenopausal, and until I started on HRT. And it was, the CGM didn't make a huge difference to that. Like, yes, you could analyse it, but you were still worried. I was still worried I was having a hypo midnight, and that's the CGM.
I get you, like, and because it's not doing anything to help you, it's just showing you, like, it's just another kind of flashlight, and maybe a validation tool in clinic to say things aren't going how they are, but like whether you have that to show or not, it doesn't matter. Like, you're not going to say, like, but if you did have it to show and it was showing things were different, then it would be at least another little thing to go, there's something not quite right here. But I see what you're saying, like that it doesn't make any difference to how you feel. It doesn't make any of the symptoms go away. That's not the tech that helps.
And I think as well, part of the problem is some menopause symptoms actually can get mistaken for diabetic related problems. So you wake up, you're having a night sweat. Is it a night sweat or is it a hypo?
Yes.
If a lot of the times, if you do get hypo symptoms, you think, oh, I'm having a hypo, I'll go and empty the fridge.
Mm-hmm.
Then think to check your blood sugars.
Yes, because you do it after. Like, your first reaction is to get some juice or get something like that.
Whereas the CGM, it is a quick scan and it tells you, but like Shiv said, they're not 100%. They're not up to the minute accurate a lot of the time. So you still have that doubt, is it or isn't it?
Yeah.
Things like the brain fog you get if your sugars are high or you've had a hypo, is it because of that or is it because of the menopause?
Yeah, and like when you're dealing with all these types of symptoms, you're kind of on your own doing this. Like, you're even on your own, like at home, because you're embarrassed about it, or how much help was there? Because like, I'm just thinking of like the Facebook group and like the WhatsApp, the Menopausal Mithers and Twitter. They're not going about too long. Like, it's only in the last few years, isn't it? Really.
Well, the Facebook group I help run has been going it's either just over a year or which is coming up to a year. So
and like what was there before then, and what made the change?
Well, there was on Facebook, there was nothing except for the main Diabetes UK group, and it was actually a lady on there who said, would anyone be interested if we set up one dedicated to diabetes and the menopause? And I sort of jumped straight on it and said, yes, I'll help set that up. Let's get something done. But as far as I wasn't even aware, I will be honest with you, about anything on WhatsApp, Instagram, Twitter, until we did the YouTube video.
And like Shiv and Alex, like they were involved with meetings with Dawn, like, and like Diabetes UK, and I wasn't that where that, or did stuff you worked with, Shiv, precede that too?
Well, I remember about maybe 3-4 years ago going searching and I could find nothing apart from Annie Coots and Sarah Gatlin's blogs. So I put a call out as in my unique style. Did anybody want to chat about the menopause? And I think that night we had only 5 people on a call, myself and Dawn being 2. Now there is another lady that's in the WhatsApp group. She came onto it, but people were afraid to speak about it. Not afraid, probably afraid is the wrong word. Embarrassed about it, you know. I think kind of, you know, women in society, I would feel as they get older, in all aspects of life, like including workplaces and that, you know, you go past the childbearing ages, you're thrown on the scrap heap. Like I spoke to the Women's Health Task Force here in Ireland, and that was a common theme that they had from not just type 1s or people with diabetes, that the common theme was because of the youth-obsessed culture that once you passed childbearing age, what use were you to society? And I found that quite sad.
I just want to add, one of the most difficulties about having perimenopause is that you get bounced around a lot, because I went to my GP and she would say, oh, I think you should speak to your endocrinologist because you're a type 1 diabetic. Then I would go to my endocrinologist, and then she would say, well, you know, putting you on hormone replacement would put you in high risk for blood clots and, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So I was getting bounced around, and I was really not getting the help or support, because, you know, my symptoms were so bad. I mean, my blood sugars, you know, for the craziest thing, weren't going crazy, and when I say crazy is like up and down and jagged, and at that time also I didn't have sensors because I couldn't afford sensors. So, you know, my fingers were raw, you know, testing about 8 to 10 times a day, you know, checking for blood sugar trends. So I was totally on my own and suffering in silence, because I was still having periods, but because I was having, you know, in perimenopause, but, you know, totally having, you know, horrible hot flashes and mood swings and, you know, lots of everything. So it took me a long time to lobby for myself to say, hey, listen, you got to help me. I mean, there's just no way I can take this on anymore. You know, and then when I started to see a little bit of blood glucose fluctuation, my blood glucose wasn't the you know, canary in the coal mine. For me was the hot flash and the mood swings and the weight gain. And that's what gave it away, that going like, no, this is just more than, you know, just diabetes, you know, or I'm having a bad day. And like I said, there's just not enough doctors to say, okay, I got you. Let's talk about it. And I think finally I found like a menopause foundation in Canada. There was a recent discussion. So finally, I think there's some communication happening. But like I said, about 3-4 years ago, there was just nothing.
Wow. Yeah. Anita, you have your hand up too. Or sorry, Sammy, were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say, I'll be with you. We'll be with you in a minute, Anita. Sorry, I can see your hand up. Yeah, there is that comment you have just made is so common in the group. There is no backup. No one understands. You can't take HRT because you're a diabetic because of blah, blah, blah. No, don't be silly. Hormones don't affect your blood sugar levels. You're doing something wrong. It is so ridiculously common.
Yeah, I know. And it's the bouncing around and then not like, you're asking for help from people who should have like answers.
GPs won't do anything. They say you need to speak to your specialist. Your specialist won't do anything. They say you need to speak to your GP. You're just constantly, all the time.
Yeah. Anita, what do you want to come in?
Yeah. Hi everyone. So I also have the symptoms, and mine is like, because I have several health conditions. So mine is, I'm having this heavier menstruation. It took like 4 weeks, and because I also have thalassemia, it means I need to have blood transfusion every 2 weeks after my menstruation. And I tried to consult this matter with my endocrinologist and Obgyn, but apparently we still lack of information about it. So I have to look around, and finally I find endocrinologists to support the idea. And thanks to Dawn and Menopausal Mithers, I think I shared some information to them, and the endocrinologists decided to raise awareness about it in our national hospital. So
Wow.
it's a good, I'm really happy with it.
Well done. Like it's like Siva was just saying, like as well, like that it takes you so long to advocate for yourself, like when you're just been bounced around, and it's one of those things that, gosh, we shouldn't have to do.
Well, the thing is also, there's so many different symptoms that, if you take them one by one, they might not mean much, and that's why it is important somehow that you do maintain, I don't know if you want a journal or a list, because there's lots of things that you will experience, but it's just looking at the whole picture that will allow you to direct, the conversation. And then also, it's always easier if you are armed with data to go and ask for something.
Yeah.
So, if you start to have, so obviously hot flushes, which is one of the main things regarding perimenopause, but it also, could be confused with hypo symptoms, night sweat, which is kind of similar. And then you have other things that, you may have breast pain that you may actually experience no matter what during your cycle. You may have also gum problems, which again may be associated with diabetes. Fatigue and weight gain, again, perhaps because your insulin ratio are not correct, or bloating. Incontinence, because we have a tendency to get more urinary, infections. All of that, unless you can put 2 and 2 together, it's kind of, it's the easy culprit is to blame your diabetes, because that's something that they don't want to investigate too much. I think somehow with the HCPs there is a lack of knowledge, and that's why we are being bounced back from left to right and center. They don't want to take the responsibility of helping us, and that's really in the support group, because you will find women who, like you, have experienced the fact that they were bounced around, and they decided to take the matter into their own hands and to try things, or to really insist and ask for something. That it has made a difference. And it's really sad somehow that we are in the 21st century and women are still not being taken seriously.
Exactly. And like all those symptoms, Alex, that you're saying, like they're only even a tiny amount of them. Like I was so surprised filling in
but if, the list is
it's massive. It's like one of I can't even get the words out, because I've been so surprised filling in some of the research forms and things. But that balance app was is really good, like that's been shared, that Dawn has shared, and others have shared, because it tracks, like you say, it tracks not your balance, it tracks your symptoms, and like you rate which symptoms are really bothering you. Like it's really quite insightful, even like with a type 1 mind, how the balance app is, like to see what kind of things are bothering you the most. There's so many little things with type 1 that are all maybe small by themselves, but all together are really quite big, but maybe only 3 or 4 or 5 could be really bothering you at any one point in time. But the balance app was, I've really enjoyed getting into to track those symptoms. Does anybody want to talk about like not too personal? I'm not asking this as a personal, like, deep question, but like we talked about hot flashes and hot flushes, and what are you finding the the hardest at the minute with symptoms. For me, like it's memory, and it's like night sweats, those type of things that get me at the minute. But maybe it's just an early perimenopause type thing.
I must admit, the memory thing for me is a problem, shall we say. I'm writing a lot more lists now than I ever did.
Yeah.
Never remember to take them, but you know, hey ho.
You just try and remember the list.
The hope's there.
Reimagine that list that you've written down.
Visualize. I visualize a lot and forget everything. But for me, it is still the blood sugar problems. The HRT has helped enormously.
Oh, we should talk about that. We should talk about the HRT here, because that's something that like the GPs are pushing us back to clinics about, and clinics aren't sure about. So who wants to talk about that?
But if I could just mention, going back to the Balance app, that's actually what we refer a lot of the ladies in our group to, who have been to their GP because their blood sugars are erratic, and they've mentioned HRT and could it be the menopause, and been told, no, don't be silly, go away, go and make a sandwich. So, we shouldn't have to tell ladies this, in the 21st century, but we'd have to say, go back to your GP, go on the Balance app, look at all of those symptoms, because there will be a lot on there that you don't realise actually are perimenopausal symptoms.
That's the thing.
And focus on those. Do not mention your diabetes. Do not mention your blood sugars, because the minute you do that, it becomes a diabetes problem and nothing else. If you focus purely on menopausal symptoms, 90% of the time, you will get somewhere.
Yeah. Kes, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I said, but like, I'm in my 30s, and no question is a stupid question, so I'm going to put it out there. You've mentioned perimenopause and menopause. What's the difference?
Perimenopause is the stage at the beginning of the menopausal process. So that will be when you're still having periods, but you will be starting to get symptoms. Menopausal is when the periods stop. And postmenopausal is when, I believe it's when you haven't had a period for either 1 year or 2 years. I'm sure someone maybe come along who could.
Menopause is that one day in time where you haven't had a period for exactly 365/66 days, and after that day is postmenopause, and that postmenopause is for the rest of your life. And it's where your hormonal levels haven't been at a height that they would have been before, and so you still have symptoms.
Oh,
Dawnie's in. And she might be in, but she.
Can I ask a question, Mary?
Yes, Shiv.
Okay, like my story is a long story about fighting for HRT, and I got it eventually through the GP. But I had a clinic appointment then, and when I mentioned that my blood sugars had just got a bit erratic, and I said possibly because I've started taking HRT, I got a shrug of the shoulders. So I buttoned it without saying anything. But I wonder, I know there's a few HCPs on here tonight, I think there are. Is there any training, stroke upskilling, anything in diabetes clinic, perimenopause, postmenopause, anything about HRT? Any training, type 1 diabetes, and HRT, that we're still not getting met with shrug of the shoulders in this day and age.
Right. I see James is in the room. James, do you know anything like with Eden or anything like that with training? I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot here.
Sorry, no, I'm just wondering because the response I got in clinic only a couple of weeks ago, I thought, my God, this hasn't moved on in 10 years.
I must admit, the clinics I've been to and the GPs I've spoken to are all in complete denial. Sorry, Mary.
Belinda's connecting here too, so she might know a little bit too.
I was just about to say I brung Belinda in because I seen that she was connecting, and I know she's a diabetic researcher and things like that, so she'll hopefully be able to give an answer to that question for us there.
That's a fantastic question, guys, and it's such an important conversation today. Madly tweeting so as many followers as possible can just see all this. Literally, this is the groundbreaking raising of awareness. You know, we don't need research to be to just be the groundbreaking discoveries. It's these lived experience chats that stimulate or trigger the health professionals and researchers to go out there and go and, you know, try and change practice. But from an Australian perspective, I can't speak to the UK. The short answer is no, there's no training for health professionals. I work as a midwife, diabetes educator and in research, and there's no training of any kind for midwives or obstetricians or gynecologists on this field, specifically menopause and diabetes. I've tried to have some conversations with some GPs, obs gynaes, specifically focusing on menopause for women with diabetes. They're very honest and say we don't know, but they don't. I have to keep pushing them to say, well, we need to find out. Someone needs to do the research. But there doesn't seem to be an interest, so we just need to keep banging on. We're seeing a little bit more pop up in various conferences about various elements of menopause and diabetes, but it's very, very scarce.
Dawnie, you have your hand up there.
Yeah, hi, just treating a hypo here and listening along. So yeah, as Belinda says, I work as a midwife as well. That's why I'm so late to this chat. It's been a very busy day in work. But there is no training for midwives, and even the Primary Care Diabetes Society, I would do a lot of their post-reg training sessions online. Currently, they don't have anything available about menopause with diabetes. And it was one of the sessions I was at ATTD, where they flagged up a paper from 1977 to do with menopause and diabetes. But the biggest focus seems to be on menopause itself being a risk factor, if you want to use that term, for developing type 2 diabetes. There is, I was going to say there's nothing out there on type 1 and menopause. There actually is, because myself and others from the Menopausal Mithers group gave our data for analysis to, I can't even remember what he does anymore, sorry, Hypobrain. But we had a paper published and I presented that at a conference back in November in Spain. It was actually a physics conference. And if anybody wants it, DM me and I'll send you the link to it. It was a very small study. It's proof of concept study, but we were able to say that HRT had an effect on glucose levels in women with type 1 diabetes going through menopause.
Yeah, it's a really interesting paper, Dawnie.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yes, positive effect, Alex. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the sense that you have better management. That's what I mean. Yeah.
And again, we managed to get some more data, and that's currently with another data scientist who is working on that, but hasn't yet been able to get back because they're trying to complete their PhD as well. So yeah, hey ho. Hopefully we'll have a bit more.
All the things done in the gaps of life, like, rather than having a priority or a place of their own yet.
And as I said at ATTD, where I was very fortunate to be asked to come up and speak as part of the DEDOC symposium on the Wednesday afternoon, you know, if researchers and clinicians aren't going to do the work for us, well, at least now we have a big enough community drive that we will start submitting our own data and we'll do the analysis ourselves if we can find the right people to do that for us. And we've been very fortunate we've been able to do that so far.
Yeah, and in the session on the Saturday, like when you came to the mic too, Dawnie, like the reception you got from the top, like was really positive. So I hope more happens.
It was lovely having that very positive feedback, and it was really interesting because one of the things that happened after I came off after the DDoC symposium was the Lancet have approached me to write a lived experience article for them.
Oh, goosebumps!
Yeah,
oh, brilliant.
They, amongst others. So there was a lot of feedback from folk attending that conference, that event. And hopefully it will get a wee bit more traction, and hopefully we'll be able to get flagging up a wee bit more.
It's proof though that like we lived experience is so important. The likes of like not the likes of like that DDoC is like really important. You can do all these things in your own place, but unless you go to those conferences, you're not seen. The information isn't seen.
Yeah. There's a couple of other exciting things that have come up as well in the past. How many weeks ago was that? 3 weeks ago? Possibly?
Is that 2?
I can't actually remember.
I think it's only 2.
But there's a couple of other things that have come up since. So yeah, again, any of the folk out there who are experiencing perimenopause or are recently postmenopausal or even a while back postmenopausal, hit me up, lads, and we'll see what we can do, because there is an interest. It's very topical at the minute, and all being well, other side gigs that I've got myself involved in will be taken seriously, and more than happy to keep shouting about this for other folk as well. And it's really good because the more experiences we have, it's not just me saying, this is what's going on in my life. It's not just Sammy saying, this is what's going on in my life, or Shiv, or Alex, or Linda, or any of the folk here tonight. But when we band together, it does make it a much more powerful voice.
100%.
One voice shouting is just one voice shouting. A community rising up and saying, this really does need to be looked at, is so much more powerful.
Yeah. And like on that, I'll maybe pass over to Kes to talk a bit more about like the peer support part of it, and even like Menopausal Mithers are going to be at TAD and start like bringing people together. So are you okay to do that then, Kes? Or John, do you want to say something else there?
Yeah, we're going to be at Thrive Diabetes as well down in Dublin.
Of course. Yeah, Gary, you've got your hand up.
Yes, I want to ask a question, and it's probably going to sound silly.
There's no silly question.
Because as a man, I don't or never will understand. I can empathise with how the menopause must feel, but I'll never understand because I'll never experience something like that. But I would like to ask, because I'm sure there's a few men in here that would like to know, what can we do to help support getting the care that's needed and the support that's needed? Because throughout this whole conversation, it has constantly kept being flagged up that you pass from pillar to post. And for me, that just feels like that shouldn't be happening. This is such a complex issue. Menopause is such a complex issue, and it has such complex symptoms that it can't be easy to be passed from pillar to post and not getting the support or answers or medical intervention that is rightfully needed. So what sort of things can we as men do to help support this? And I know that using our voices can help, but is there any feedback that you could give for us to be able to support even further to help get the push for more research to be done in this area? Because it's such a area that lacks any research, and I think it's such a huge thing that needs to be researched, because every woman is going to suffer from menopause, and the challenges of menopause are, from what I can hear from this, are very complex and challenging at best.
Do you know what I think, Gary? And I, like, other people have their own opinions as well, but I think it's it's important that you're here in the conversation as well, like that, because it takes, like Dawn says, it takes a community of voice to be heard, and if you're even just echoing out what we say, in to help us be heard. What do you guys think? Like Dawn, Alex, Shiv.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like every one of you, her male, have mothers, you have aunts, you have cousins, you have sisters, you have workmates, you've got diabetes folk like ourselves who are here, who are desperately trying to be heard. Whenever I was handing over tonight before I left the ward, one of the midwives there said to me, "Oh, I see you were speaking at a thing in Germany." And I was like, "Yeah." She says, "Well done." She said, "I found menopause such a lonely, isolating time." And she said, "I don't know how I made it through. There were so many days whenever I just wanted to end my own life because I was so overwhelmed." And that's for women without type 1 as well. And obviously, when you live with type 1, you're constantly juggling, you're constantly balancing stuff. And it's when you're hearing women without diabetes saying how difficult the struggle is, you add into that the fact that we're continually trying to hit HbA1c targets, that we're continually trying to hit time and range targets.
You're continuously being judged.
You don't have a day when somebody isn't standing looking at your numbers or looking at the fact that you've had a hypo, you've had a hyper, you're shoving snacks into your face so that you can drive safely. And you throw menopause into that mix as well, and it just magnifies it. We know that people living with type 1, male, female, however you choose to identify, you're always struggling. Your mental health can always sit on a knife edge. And we see that repeatedly. We see that with eating disorders. We see that with anxiety. We see that with diabetes stress, diabetes burnout. And when you throw menopause into the mix, it just takes it to the next level.
It really does. And on all those bits too, like the with weight gain and your memory and your lack of confidence, and like you even lose your strength levels to advocate for yourself, because you're being bounced from pillar to post too, so they're knocking you down.
Absolutely.
Yeah, could I chime in about the menopause? Because one thing that I've discovered from doing a lot of research about it is to try and get on HRT as early as possible, because I waited till, I lost a year's sleep with night sweats, day sweats. I suddenly understood why old ladies wore cardigans, because, I just had to rip the clothes off quickly. But, it's better to start it early. From everyone I've met, it has helped with the blood sugars, definitely. So I would try and have conversations with your doctors as soon as you notice symptoms. Don't let them go on for a long time.
So how on that then, and then I'll stop talking and let Kes talk. I'm sorry, Kes. But on that and getting to your GP and getting HRT as early as possible. Sammy, you mentioned about the like telling people about the Balance app, and I know, Dawnie, you have shared it so much as well. Like, what symptoms do GPs listen to about more? Like, because like Alex, you said, they're all little small symptoms.
I've noticed GPs tend to listen to the more traditional menopause symptoms, so like things like the hot flushes, the night flashes, whatever you want to call them. Once you start going into the deeper, more unusual symptoms, they suddenly go, oh, that's not the menopause. And
Yeah.
I've known women who have gone with the Balance app, you know, they've taken a print out the symptoms and they've gone, well, that's not a real symptom.
Right.
And you think, right, okay. I've even advised ladies go and just say, even if you're not having hot flushes, even if you're not getting night sweats, say you are. Because they're clearly going through the menopause, but you shouldn't need to do that, but it's the only way they've been able to get the help that they needed. And then hope you don't hit a GP who, like mine, said hormones don't affect blood sugar. So I said, but they do during my periods. Oh, yes, well, during your periods they will do, yes. So I basically said, do you want to just run through what you said, what you just said to me in your head again, and apply it to the menopause? And you just wrote me a prescription for HRT.
And just following on from that, we know that placental hormones affect blood glucose levels in women with diabetes right throughout the course of a pregnancy. So that argument falls flat in its face whenever you start applying it to menopause, that hormones can't affect your blood glucose levels. Yeah, well, we've spent, 8.5, 9 months growing a baby, and we saw exactly the impact that placental hormones and a change in estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone have in that very, very focused period in time.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't it affect your mood? Why wouldn't it affect your glucose levels? Why wouldn't it affect your body fat distribution whenever you're going through menopause as well, or when you're perimenopause? Because as Mary said earlier, menopause is literally one day in your life. Menopause itself is the anniversary of not having had a menstrual period for a year. So perimenopause is where the vast majority of us are at until we can say, oh, look, 365, 366, 370 days for my last actually had a menstrual bleed.
And like, who actually counts the 365 days? Like I'm sure they're more.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be interesting for you.
Also, can I just, sorry.
No,
go ahead, Shiv.
No, go on, Shiv.
So, no, I just wanted to say for any of the, shall we say, more mature women, mid-50s like myself, that haven't been successful in getting HRT. I've been through quite a number of GPs trying to get it, but the last time I went with all the traditional symptoms, well, I also went with, I would be killed with joint pain. So I went with, complications from diabetes as well, with osteoarthritis and cardiovascular. And, HRT may be a little buffer for that. And it was actually the osteoarthritis one that she said, oh, yes, she had read about that in, I think it was the Menopause UK medical guidance or something, she said. So, for the older ladies, if you do suffer with joint pains or anything, it may be worth mentioning it.
That's true, actually, because I remember reading, after you've had menopause, that you're more inclined to have the likes of osteoporosis and those type of things. And does HRT help with that then, Shiv, too?
I can't say I have seen it yet, but then I'm only on it 2 months.
Okay.
But it acts, apparently, now Dawn would probably be able to tell you more about it. It can act as a buffer in protection more than anything.
So to stop things progressing even a bit more?
Exactly, yes.
Gotcha.
That's my understanding of it. But Dawnie probably knows more about that.
Well, then there's the kind of what Linda's saying about getting started on HRT earlier, because then it stops that before it started.
Yeah, because they're two of the biggest, two of the commonest complications as well.
Yeah.
And they're higher in women than in men.
Oh, do I'm sitting here thinking, how do people who don't have peer support hear these things?
They just don't.
But look, Mary, I survived without peer support for years. I think it depends on people.
Yeah.
I didn't want peer support. You know, it's just a very personal thing, as is diabetes.
You're right. You're right.
Mary, I also would like to add something. Is so obviously you have quite a lot of mood swings at one point, and obviously that's low self-esteem.
Yeah.
Do not try to use those symptoms for your menopause and to ask for HRT, because the first thing they're going to give you is
antidepressants. Yeah.
And you have to avoid that unless you are feeling really depressed, because that could be also the case, because mental health associated with, all the changes that are taking in your body is the fact that you are no longer the person you used to be. Your level of activity, of energy
your
are
energy
slightly
goes
different.
down. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have a lack of libido. You have, there's so many things, and it's very easy to put a tag for depression on it. So don't let that stop you. Try to play it a bit down, possibly, and focus more on the traditional symptoms, as was suggested before. Because, I was forced to go on. But I was prescribed first antidepressant. So I had to renegotiate and came with a better plan to be able to obtain HRT. So
Here's an interesting thing. Like, how did you? It's not maybe not interesting. It's maybe just interesting for me. How long did it take for you to take the antidepressants and go, no, you know what? Like, this is not it. Like, either. Or did you even bother taking them, Alex? Or
no, I didn't. I waited 3 months. I just thought, if I would have made an effect, I would have made an effect by now.
Yeah.
And then I went back with my list of symptoms, focusing more on the traditional one. And when she said to me, "Oh, what about your mood?" and I said, "Well, my mood is slightly better thanks to your medicine, but then I never renewed my prescription." So, yeah.
I get you.
But that worked for me. Again, like diabetes, everybody's different. So it's just to try to give an awareness for people to review what they are experiencing, to find the best path for themselves.
You didn't have kind of an awareness of what's going on, and what the perception of what's going on too is going to be received as well, and so that you get the best outcome too.
Exactly. And also just one more point to say very quickly. HRT doesn't work for everybody. So, if you want to give it a try, do, but that may not work for you. So,
have others tried anything else that has worked? I keep talking here. I'm sorry, Kes. You jump in, you turn your mic on, and just tell me to shut up.
No, you're all good. I'm listening. I'm learning a lot.
There's a lot to learn, isn't there? I'm just wondering, because you said that, Alex, and what, there's other more naturopathic type of help that's out there.
Yes. Some people want to go the plant route rather than, let's say, the chemical route, which HRT will fall upon, in particular patches and gel. I'm not very familiar with the natural route. I just know that you need to be quite careful, because there's a lot of
interactions and things.
Cures. No, but fake cures as well. So you need to So you need to have a good discussion with your, if you want to go down that route, and if you trust your GP, follow their advice. Don't try to find something for yourself that may have fallen from the back of the van, if I may say so.
Yes. I see James is. I get him to.
But for night flushes, I think there's something called black cohosh, if I'm not wrong, which is recognized as potentially working. But yeah,
I've seen that mentioned. I've definitely seen that mentioned. Has James has requested to speak. Yeah, the natural stuff is what I haven't looked too far down, but there's breast cancer in my family, and there's like talk about HRT and breast cancer and those kind of conversations too that I'm not sure I know enough about yet, like to know what to think yet.
It is personal. I've got breast cancer in my family as well. On my mother's side, everybody has been affected. I'm actually being followed here by in Birmingham by the women's clinic, and they said to me that currently I'm borderline, so I'm just under the 10% mark.
Okay.
And they said I could stop HRT and then start, or is it tamoxifen that it's called? I don't know. Is that what it is? I mean, some sort of medication that should help with not helping the development of breast cancer.
Yes, yeah.
But you also have lots of side effects. And that may make your menopausal symptoms worse than they are.
Yes. Okay.
So again, it is for you to have an educated decision as per what you want to do.
Understand.
Yeah, I've decided to take my chances. I might regret it, but that's where I am today.
Oh, thanks for sharing that. It's hard to know, like it isn't it that your best educated guess that you can only go for and then decide again as you go down the line. James, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I just wanted to firstly say that this has been an amazing chat, actually. As a male and a HCP listening in, it's been so good to hear from the perspective of yourself as women and what you go through from the 3 stages perspectives, which I have some understanding around, but certainly in that empathetic way of the symptoms that you experience. And certainly I know there's so many and varied symptoms that you can experience, and one size certainly doesn't fit all. And I know that Dawnie mentioned or it was briefly mentioned around, there's a lack of awareness around how living with diabetes can affect, well, having the menopause or perimenopause and premenopause can affect glucose levels, and some doctors don't necessarily think that. Oh, is my mic working?
No, you're okay. That was just somebody else's mic was on. So
oh, not to worry. And it absolutely can, because I remember I was supporting a lady, and I think she was in her late 40s, I think, and she was definitely going through the premenopausal stage, because she said it's been around, she started noticing around 6 months she started having much more irregular periods, and they started to slow down, and she was speaking to a GP and saying, you know, my glucose levels are coming much more higher than what they had been recently, like at the start of the year. And the GP hadn't really switched on that it could be the symptoms that were causing the insulin resistance. And I noticed for some people get more insulin resistance and some people get more insulin sensitivity, and it's because of the hormones or the change in the estrogen and the progesterone levels, as far as I'm aware. And it just shows it just really impacts upon women in so many different ways. And it's really important to raise awareness as much as you can, really, because it's, I think that it was mentioned in the chat earlier how doctors and healthcare professionals usually just discount things sometimes away from the diabetes in general, or just think, oh, it's that's the diabetes. They don't think that it's a combination of the two that can cause an impact. I hope I'm speaking from an empathetic way here.
No, you really are, and I really appreciate you coming up to speak, James, because it's just like the knowledge. I think it is the awareness. It's the awareness that will give us the confidence to even just say that something, when something isn't right, and when we're ready to say that it's accepted then as what we're saying, and not pushed onto somebody else, if you know what I mean. So like
I think there really needs to be a big push in terms of, I know there's been many small mini trials and clinical trial data, but I think there has to be a really good push on a big clinical trial on identifying those at the different 3 stages and knowing, the very different types of symptoms, because each of you have mentioned varied symptoms, which is fascinating, but it must be so horrible at the same time to experience them. I think it's having that sort of increased awareness for all, and then we can kind of know who would be most suitable for HRT, because it is suitable for some and not for others. And one thing to kind of, it's raining where I am.
Lashing.
It's just started pouring it down. And one thing to kind of question always is, or be wary of, is those that do have a history of heart problems. We're very wary on that. So anyone that's questioning it to me, I always get second opinion from my consultant of, but I do know of patients having good response to HRT, whereas some, I think it's dependent on how everyone's hormone levels are going, etc. Obviously, that's the biggest factor. But one patient who I was supporting, their GP said, well, you just need to cut down on the number of carbohydrates. And I'm thinking, well, no, it's not as simple as that at all. And they said, well, I tried doing that and it had no effect. And I said, it's because you're going through the menopause. So that was, I just wanted to add that and say it's been a really good chat, and I look forward to listening a bit more.
Thanks so much, and really appreciate it. Linda, you have your hand up there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what anyone else's experience is like, but just getting your hormone levels checked has been incredibly difficult. I mean, I've spent the last 6 months asking over and over again, can you check what my hormone levels are? I'm probably like 9 years into menopause now. But it's been trial by error with HRT. It's just, try this one. No, it doesn't work. 6 weeks of sleepless nights. And this is ongoing battle. And I just wondered, has anyone else been refused blood tests? Has anyone tried a Dutch test? Because that actually records the cortisol levels in your urine, which is quite an interesting test to take.
Sammy, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say regarding the hormone blood tests, they're actually very unreliable, from what I can gather, and so much so that any lady over the age of 45, I think it is, presented with menopause symptoms, they will be given advice based purely on their symptoms, because your hormone levels can change within minutes. So you could do a blood test 1 minute and your hormones are absolutely fine, go back in 2 hours and repeat the test, and your levels can be on the floor. So that's my understanding of probably why you're struggling to get a hormone blood test done.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's really interesting.
I've heard the urine one is a lot more reliable, but the NHS won't pay for that. You have to go privately for the Dutch test. And
is that the urine test then?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean, I've tried maca powder as well, which is a herbal remedy for it. That didn't really have any effect at all, to be honest, on me. But I did try that before I went on to the HRT. But I've got really bad osteoporosis, and again, I believe that having the right levels of hormone can help with the symptoms of osteoporosis. But again, can't get any tests to check them.
Well, thanks. Oh, Siva, were you going to put your hand up there, or did you change your mind?
Yeah, I just want to add to the last comment. I tried black cohosh. My massage therapist talked about it before going into HRT, because when my endo talked about blood clots, she wasn't comfortable with it and I wasn't comfortable with it. And I tried black cohosh. It just didn't work for me. You know, I mean, it works for some people, it doesn't work for some people. And then eventually I did go through some tests, and like I had mentioned earlier, lobbying for myself. Eventually I went into HRT and no issues, but I had to go through a lot of tests, and also to prove they had to do a complete testing, including testing my ovaries to make sure I didn't have any cysts and things like that. So it was almost a 6-month period of like many tests to make sure that I was a good candidate for HRT. And now I have no symptoms, and the blood sugars are fantastic, and of course no side effects of menopause.
Brilliant. Can I ask a question, James? This is maybe for you or Dawn. And I've taken HRT and the issues around cardiovascular things. Like, what are they then? What are the limitations with that? Does HRT cause blood clots? Is that what it is that you were saying, Siva?
I'm sorry, what was the question
Do
again?
you know, so with HRT and your heart, like James mentioned about a patient that had was worried about their heart as well, I think, or what? I suppose what I'm asking. Oh, Sammy's got her hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to say, James may be able to correct me on this one. To my knowledge, it is only the tablet that slightly increases the risk of blood clots, cardiovascular, and strokes.
Is there some that are synthetic and some that aren't synthetic?
Yeah, I believe so. But I believe, as far as I am aware, my limited knowledge, HRT taken orally is the one that increases the risk of clots slightly.
And the patches aren't.
But anything transdermal, so the patches, the gels, are okay. They do not increase the risk. However, James may correct me on this, so I may be wrong.
Maybe James has gone out in the rain.
I was going to say your knowledge is probably better than mine based on personal experience, but I do know that the longer that HRT is used, I believe that it heightens the risk of, heart problems and cancer, I think, as well. So those that have those risk factors, we've got to be very cautious in. I know there's other HCPs in the panel who probably have more experience of prescribing and advocating for women using HRT, that's for sure. Who might want to?
Can I just say, I'm one of them, and cardiac disease is minimal with HRT. It's more so to do with cancers and other factors, your contraindications in taking it. And as you say,
thank you for that.
The tablets are more prone to a side effect, if anything. As you say, the transdermal, the patches and the gels usually have no effect at all. So hence why they're usually quite on the ball. It's like taking the contraceptive pill. They want to check your blood pressure regularly, just to make sure that everything's okay. If your blood pressure does spike, they may want you to change it or take something else.
Oh, thanks for that, Helen. Thank you. I was trying to bring you up to speak, and it wasn't allowing me. It was like, oh.
That's all right.
Is there anything you want to add to the discussion tonight?
No, it's interesting to listen to you all. Obviously, I've been type 1 now for 50 years. I was diabetic from the age of 2, so I've started taking HRT the past 4 years, but I can't seem to find one for myself that works. So as a healthcare professional, I'm struggling myself to find one that effectively works, because my night sweats are just horrific, and it's when I wake up, I'm having a night sweat or I'm hypo.
Yeah.
It's just that mad factor, and I would like to hear if anyone else has the same issues or takes whatever they take to help combat it.
How many different types of like patches or things have you tried? Or
They've only tried me on the oral medications. I'm now on my 4th one.
Oh, now, Dawnie, like, do you like? Are you there or?
Yeah. Whenever I contacted my GP last year, I was at just like a really low point, and that's not normally me. And whenever I asked about HRT, and whenever she was very receptive to the whole idea of, yes, starting HRT, that was not an issue at all. Her immediate go-to was transdermal patches. She never even put the tablets across as first line of treatment. And I know that some of the girls one of the other girls in the Menopausal Mithers WhatsApp group attends the same GP, and she was like straight onto the patches as well. And the GP just came back and said, this will not have any interactions with your type 1 diabetes. It shouldn't have any negative impact on your glucose levels at all. The risks of breast cancer, the risks of cardiac episodes, she said, no, the evidence is increasingly in favour of HRT. And when they talk about risks, and when you do a deeper dive into the numbers behind the risks, the risk of developing any of those things, in particular the breast cancers, as a result of taking HRT, is about 0.05%, which is less than 1 in 200. So it's a really minimal risk. Every time you get into the car, you're at risk of having a car accident. Every time you take your insulin before you eat, you're at risk of not finishing that meal. And everything comes with risks, everything comes with benefits. And I think it's about weighing up what you're comfortable with in terms of accepting those risks. And as girls have said, I work as a midwife, and we know that people who have epidurals have an increased risk of having an instrumental delivery, or have an increased risk of having a cesarean section. But that does not mean that it will be absolutely everybody. And I think it's worth having a look at your family history. As I was saying to Tom and Kes at the weekend, talk to other women in your family, talk to your sisters if you have them, talk to your mum, your aunt, your grandparents, female cousins, and ask them what their experiences are or what their experiences have been. Because it's going to be very different within family groups as well. You might find that you have a higher predisposition to HRT not working, or using naturopathic methods not working for you. Nothing's, it sounds like we're all very pro HRT here on this chat, and I don't want anybody thinking that that's the only way that you have to go. It's about weighing up what is best for you, what you're comfortable with trying. And it's like everything else in this life. If you want to give it a go, and if you're supported to give it a go, try it out. If it's not working, there are alternatives out there. There isn't just, as the saying here goes, Mary, you know yourself, there's more ways than one to walk your cat.
Yeah. Yeah. How have we done tonight? Have we begun to write the world, or are we only like,
Yeah.
are we doing any part of it?
Can I ask that question as well, Mary? Like, listening in tonight, I've just thoroughly enjoyed it. But the guys on the panel, how have you enjoyed tonight? Like, what have you got out of tonight? Has it been helpful, like chatting to each other and raising awareness? I don't want to put words in your mouth here, but what have you enjoyed from tonight? What have you got out of tonight? And I apologise. We've gone over our 10 people that have been able to speak tonight. I've had to throw Gary off twice to get people to keep jumping on. But what about you guys? What have you got out of tonight? What have you enjoyed? Or what would you like us to do in the future to do more, I guess?
I suppose for me, it's seeing different people than, you have your support groups, but it's seeing a variety of faces from different eras and also a few men listening. So that's good. But yeah, definitely just seeing more awareness raised of it in a wider circle for me.
Yeah, I'd agree there, Shiv. Yeah, I think it's seeing a bit more of a spread of ages, a bit of a spread of understanding. It was your post like the other day that just made me really kind of go, this isn't a conversation just for women, about women. We won't get anywhere just talking about it among ourselves. We need to younger women need to understand it and be open to the conversation. Older ones need to be open about talking about it so that we can learn. James, you have your hands up.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I was just going to say, to answer to Tom's question, I think the answer is more of this, more representation from women who are experiencing the different stages of menopause, and maybe having specific chats on the different stages as well, really going down in the different areas, because it certainly helps me as a healthcare professional to have that really good empathetic understanding, and as a partner as well, because my partner goes through she's living with PCOS, so that's really, my understanding around that is really good. But then, in the future, certainly I'll be a better partner, a more empathetic one as well. But certainly for patients that I support, I think it's really good to raise the profile on this health condition, really, because it's so common, really, isn't it? And in the chat, it's great that some men are here, including myself, but it would be so great if many more were listening to this as well, and many more who are healthcare professionals. And I can see many of us who in the chat as well who are healthcare professionals, and I found it to be actually one of the best chats that I've listened to so far, actually, so thank you.
Oh, that's great. Alex, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, when Tom said, what could we do? Bang the drum. The more noise we make, perhaps the more chance we have to be listened to. And also, we've talked about the woman, because it is obviously affecting the woman. But the men in our lives are also being affected, and getting their support and their understanding is really important to us as well, in particular for those of us that live in relationship, because that has an impact on our behavior, and that is impacting basically the people you live with. So yeah, recognizing it is one step in the right direction.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you're right. So is this is this where we summarize it then, Tom? Or
Yeah, go for it.
Gosh.
Can
Right,
you
okay.
can you summarize the last 2 hours? Like this is hopefully the start of many more discussions. Like Alex said, we keep like beating that drum, isn't it?
To keep talking about it. It's just like all those things. We have to keep talking about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the talk, like looking at your symptoms, check out the Balance app, start to track your symptoms, go get help early. Don't talk about your type 1 when you're in with the GP. Keep it clean on your symptoms so that you can keep that focus. Find peer support. Peer support in Twitter is Menopause Mithers, at Menopause Mithers. Contact the likes of Dawnie or Shiv or Alex or Sammy there or me or anybody. Just put a hashtag out with like diabetes and menopause and we'll all find you. In Facebook, Sammy's in Facebook. What exactly do you call the group, Sammy?
It is called the Type 1 Diabetes, Menopause and Perimenopause.
Yeah, and just request to join.
All I ask is please accept all the rules.
Yeah.
That's
Make
it.
sure. Yeah, when you're requesting to join the group, just know you have to answer questions before you go ahead.
There's only 3.
Yeah.
Not hard.
No, not at all. And what else? Have I forgotten anything else? I'm sure I have, but you can listen back, and it'll be on YouTube as well, and it'll be in on DiabetesChat.org.
Net.
.net.
I'm not meant to be here.
Darn. We'll put links up. We, as in the royal we, Tom will put links up.
I'll do it tomorrow.
And yeah, you'll find links at some point, and then we'll all share them round as well, and keep talking about it. It's 10:15. Does anybody want to jump on and add anything else from that? Like I think I've said the key things. Where the peer support is, what to do. I think that's it. But
just one more thing for those of us that are going to TAD.
Gosh,
we'll be
Alex,
there.
yes.
So just come and say a few words.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that. That's how good I am at the minute.
Oh my gosh. So like TAD, like you have a stand at TAD, don't you? Or you're going to be a presence at TAD?
Yeah, we've been very kindly given space at TAD. So if you're there, come and chat to us. If you're in the Greater London area or you're one of the TAD tourists, love to be a TAD tourist. I wish that had been a thing last year. Come along and find us afterwards. I think details are circulating on various bits of social media channels. Yeah, come and chat to us. Doesn't matter whether you've got ovaries and uterus or not. We'll be there. We're more than happy to chat to you. So come and chat to us.